create a new world map or a fantasy map. Call it what you will, but it's more of a fantasy map due to it being a new world. And so on. Let's go to a map with just the ocean. And now we can create something. Now, where to start? Maybe in the south. Let's make Antarctica real. Let's make an Antarctica revelation. Yeah, that's a nice looking piece of land so far. And yeah. And so yeah. As this continent is forming, it's like two pieces of land basically, guys. I would say. And as we can tell, one has more of a rugged coast than the other. And as we can tell, it's only a small continent. So yeah, let's see what it will look like. I'm going to toss in some islands. A few around here. Some up around here. And a nice sized one over here. Now for the small island. It's a bit tiny, but it's a good size. And this is probably a cold continent due to how close it is to the south. That's assuming the south is cold. But the north and far south in this world is still calm. But let's look at tectonic plates for this continent. You might want to see what they would look like. But if you look, you can see it goes smooth down the coast. Very smooth following. So I'm assuming that I want a tectonic plate like this. Next tectonic plate is like this, I think. Which is because it's going to be a bit of a bigger continent, like more land-wise. Like a bit fatter, probably. Like, kind of like... Oh my god, that was hard. So now, let's look. How will this continent work? And function. As sovereign. Well, it probably wouldn't be, but that's just... You can tell here it's a bit more rugged. With a bit of a... Yeah. As you can tell, this is turning into a bay. I guess it would be called Dino Bay. Look, it looks like a dinosaur. What do you guys think? As you can already see, this continent is already looking much bigger. So as you can tell, this will probably be an earthquake zone prone to earthquakes. That is odd. Match. But you can see that it would connect if you do look at it. That would be a lake if they did connect. As we know, they usually do reflect, I guess. You could say. This looks like a kind of continent that would just show up. As this world has been together multiple times. And as we can tell, it ends with a whale tail. Because this continent looks like a fish. And that's not even a big continent, but it's big. I think it is bigger than the continent to the south. The Antarctica equivalent. If that's space over here for an Oceania equivalent, that's a South America equivalent. And that looks more like an island. That looks kind of like a crab. It kind of looks like a fish. Whatever. And now to put the big islands down. Of course, the small islands, since there'll be a lot of those. I would have to do separate, but yeah. As this is a major island, probably. I could see a big island up here. Maybe a really big one over here. In the south, I could see a bit of a long island like this. Kinda in front of the bay. And here I could see an island that's pretty big in shape. Over here too. I'm just going what I think. Here. Maybe a bit of this coming out in two spots. Kinda looks like Alaska. Yeah. Now for the small islands. I'll be two continents. There's a very earthquake-prone area, which is straight islands. That is earthquake-prone. But do you want to live in those islands? Probably not. But do people live there? Chances are yes. What type of people live in this continent is a question. The next continent is kind of similar to this one in one spot, as you can kind of tell where these continents would connect. Although not perfectly, you can still tell. As we can tell, this continent goes up pretty far north. Not only that, but look, with two river-like things coming in. And then I'd say this would have a major lake. Or at least maybe I want a few lakes on this continent. Make it like, yeah, they can all be up here. And I didn't think of lakes on the southern continent because they would be frozen, so what's the point of showing lakes there? But yeah, I'd say maybe a lake would be here. And maybe like a long lake. I don't know what that would look like, but yeah, I don't think there's any island that looks like that in the entire world. On the north, on the other hand, I think there would be a lot of big islands. Maybe an island can go right here. Like, kinda just island. And there's not many islands to the west. There's a big island here, and now for the tiny scattered islands. Continents now, so let's look what tectonic plates are looking like now. So I'm going to add a layer, as you can tell. And what we're going to do on this layer is use it for tectonic plates. Like the major fault. As you can tell, they go right through this island chain. Like that. Well, as this one's go like? Well, actually, despite thinking, you may think, but that island is very earthquake prone, especially this one with it going right through, and then it goes down, skip, up. And this tectonic plate looks like this. Why is it like that for that tectonic plate? Why is it curved? I'm not quite sure. But as we can tell, there's a majorly large tectonic plate over here. Looks like the biggest continent is going to be over there. I can see where tectonic plates are now. There's one here. There's one here. And there's one here, I guess for a subcontinent or something. And as we know, subcontinents are tiny continents. I guess you know that. I hope you do. And now let's go in with the big one. The big continent that everyone's been waiting for. But not the last continent, but the big one. The mega continent of the world. Kind of like Eurasia, but bigger. Eurasia, or is it Europe and Asia? Depends on who you ask. Ask me, Europe and Asia, or Eurasia. Depends on what I feel like saying. With this looking like, I think it would at some point these have been connected. With absolute certainty, I can say. As they should fit like a puzzle piece. Or at least that's what they do in the real world, so I guess they do in this world. Well, this continent has become a bit of a narrow, long one, actually. And as you can tell, this continent is just massive. And this being a big part of the continent, too. The large island. Now let's look at lakes. There's a river here, I guess we could say, in here. Let's add those. I'll add these. And then the lakes, I'm assuming there's a major one here. And a cool one here. And a long, skinny one here. There's also some major islands. This continent took a bit of its space up. But doesn't mean... And as we can tell, there's some volcanic islands going to show up along that. And here I'd say there's islands. I'd say there's not so many at the south, except maybe an earthquake-prone island here. But once I add other continents, I might see stuff I didn't see earlier. And also, continents can be connected if we go by tectonic plates. Like the Indian subcontinent, by tectonic plates, is a different area, but it's part of, as you know, connected to Asia. Subcontinent now. It's going to be much smaller, these continents over here, just because there needs to be enough water to sustain life on this planet. Oh, wrong layer. Also, you may notice that these look a bit different. That's because I made a mistake and forgot to get rid of a layer. So now I just had to continue with just getting rid of that layer and recreating the continent. Now, the subcontinent also only having small areas above water. So I'm assuming, based on this setup, that there would be a mountain range over here, because it would have hit something else at some point. And you may think a continent with a subcontinent should be fairly big, but that's not the case. It doesn't have to. And it doesn't have many islands on this side, except a bit sticking out here, but it doesn't have any major islands. They have one big island here. One big island around here, but that goes into another continent, and the subcontinent has that. Now let's see what it looks like with all the islands added on. Even though it's a big tectonic plate, it's only really a tiny continent. Not because of why you might think. You might be like, oh, because it's not much. Like, land. No, there's really no mainland. That's the biggest island in this continent. Islands scatter everywhere. All of these are basically volcanic islands. Some even crossing the tectonics, but those are like the earthquakey, mountainy continents. As we can call this waterland. Just kidding. Oceania basically is what it is. Well, like, there's a lot of islands spread out. We can make these into island nations when we make nations, or should I do a history of this where people form into countries, civilizations, problems happen, that kind of stuff. As you can see, the tiny islands are here to stay. They're very tiny, guys. Like, global warming makes this continent sink. And yeah. As you can tell, that's an island. This is. They make a, Hawaii thing. Yeah, that's a Hawaii-like thing. And that's all the island. That's this continent called Oceania. Well, not really. In real life, there's an Oceania kind of like this, except there's an Australia in it, which we'll somehow think is a continent, but yeah, no. But yeah, people do, which makes no sense. Very tiny by land area, but not because it's one island. It's because it's all little tiny islands, kind of the Oceania equivalent of this world, with a few volcanic islands scattered around. Now let's come for another continent. Not a big one, but not that small, quite that small. Small based on land area. And as we can tell, it has a mainland, I guess, somewhere. This is probably the main island. Despite the fact parts of it cross into another continent, it's not part of that continent. And the big island is over here, Volcanic Island, with another long one down here being here. And some here. Basically, this is what this continent looks like. It's not very islandy, but not all continents need to have lots of islands, do they, guys? This is a fantasy map by any other name. It's still a fantasy. But this would be a cool world. Now, what should I do next? Should I come up with countries for, modern world for this continent? Or should we make a history? Should I make a history series about this? Like starting with the fact that humans make this place home. Or should I use a different creature? Should I make up a creature? I can make up countries, cultures, everything. This could become a story series about how this world came to be. About how this planet in a far, far away galaxy becomes habitable by a creature that at some point decides to colonize Earth but fails. Because the AI and the humans kick them off. Oh wait, that sounds like it's going into another series, alternate future of the world. They're like, oh, it's time to go visit Earth. And then let's look at the last tectonic plate. Will it be a big continent? A small continent? Will it look like a question mark? Now, as you can tell, there's more islands over here than over there in the island continent. But I'm probably going to scatter a few there, though. Final continent. In this world we're creating. In the world we're creating has the final continent. With 2 major islands. And like the other Antarctica one. But as you can tell, this is a cold continent. Very hostile. Luckily it's a small continent, so it wouldn't be as cold as it could be. But averaging around the negatives. In Celsius. Yep, Celsius. Not Fahrenheit, because that would be very bad. Maybe it does, who knows. And now there are a few islands. Like one's right here, but that's about as far as islands go. Really. But like all these islands would probably be inhabited because of how close they are together. I wouldn't be surprised if people got down here much quicker than they did in our timeline just because it's right there. It's not even far away. And maybe you'll even settle down here, who knows? And who knows how technology would develop in this universe? Nobody does yet. That's the interesting part. Let's see. I think this will work awful. But yeah, it did. The ones that one will work. This one. And as you can tell, 4 of these islands didn't work so well. And that's probably because I missed a tiny spot. As you can tell, you only need to miss a dot to mess up the map. And this is what the fantasy map looks like, I guess you could say. And so on to the point where, well, this is a new world. Let's take away tectonic plates for a minute to really appreciate what it looks like. Yeah, not now, no. But this is not much water. So whatever lives here thrives on warmer temperatures, I would say, less island. But like, look at this creation we've made. Now let's take away tectonic plates and really admire it. Yeah, this is amazing. But it seems like the ocean continent doesn't have the most islands, honestly. But it's islandy. But as you can look, all the corners are empty. Even the Antarctica wouldn't touch the bottom. You wouldn't be able to tell there's that many continents. You would think there's 1, 2, 3 continents by looking at here. Wait, what? Why does that look like Germany in the Why does this island look like Germany in the 1930s? That's something. And then this one looks like some kind of creature. This one looks like ice cream. This one looks like a fish or a lobster or a snail, something. This one looks like a ghost. This island looks like what? Yeah. As we can tell, that island looks like Argentina. This island must be Chile. Get it? Long island, Chile. I guess there is a Chile in this world. There has to be a Chile in every universe. And thanks for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed creating this new Earth, new planet. Did you enjoy making this fantasy map and watching me come up with random continents? If so, look at the tectonic plates. And like. You need a like. You obviously do. And can you subscribe if you like this idea? And that's all for today's video. Wild Mapper out. But not until Not until you subscribe. Bye, guys.